Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on chumbacasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at chumbacasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's chumbacasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right, good evening and welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, President and CEO of the Women's Small Business Initiative, LLC, and award-winning author. And welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have Kathy Gruver. Kathy Gruver is an award-winning author, professional speaker, and coach with over 30 years of experience in mind, body, medicine, and human behavior. With a West Coast mentality and an East Coast delivery, her humorous, down-to-earth, and engaging style has captivated hundreds of audiences on 4 continents, 3 cruise ships, and a handful of islands. It's been her true honor to have delivered 2 TEDx talks. Kathy has written 8 books which have garnered 12 awards, hosted a TV series based on her first book, and co-hosts the Fire and Earth podcast. She has penned countless articles and appears regularly as a guest on radio, TV, and in print media. She recently appeared on the Dr. Phil Show. She has earned her PhD in natural health and has studied mind-body medicine at the famed Benson Henry Institute for mind-body medicine at Harvard. For fun and stress relief, Kathy does flying trapeze and plays Dungeons and Dragons. So without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Miss Kathy Gruver. Kathy. welcome. I'm reading all this. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Every time I hear that intro, I go, who is that? And then I go, oh, it's me. That's right. Okay, yeah, I'm weird. Okay, perfect.
I think the part that I love the most is the flying trapeze and the Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, I can't wait to have this conversation with you.
Perfect. I can't wait either.
Well, all right, again, and welcome to the platform. And please tell the listeners just a little bit more about who Kathy Gruver really is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that said so much, right? But no, I grew up in Pittsburgh, so I'm an East Coast girl, huge Steeler fan.
Yes.
Moved to California back in the 90s to pursue my acting career, so I have a background in performing. And then when I realized that those award-winning film roles weren't going to come, I fell on plan B, which was massage and healing. So I eventually moved to Santa Barbara, California, where I still am. That little strip of land on the Central Coast, and I sold a little bit of a massage practice, not much. I do a lot of life coaching, couples coaching, and I go around the world and speak, and I write my books and dance and do flying trapeze and play Dungeons and Dragons and have an amazing partner in life, and it's pretty darn good.
It sounds good. I mean, it sounds really good. I mean, it's like you have jumped into everything, but you sound like you loved everything that you've done and you've accomplished. And even if it didn't work out, you just kept moving on. And that's the joy that I hear in your voice.
Absolutely. And you know, what's so great about that is it maybe didn't work out the way I thought it would, but man, has it informed my motivational speaking. Because anybody can stand up there and give facts, right? But I make it fun, I make it funny, and everybody laughs, and I do crazy voices. So I realize that, you know, I never did leave the stage. I'm just dressed differently. I'm not playing some crazy character. I'm just playing me. And I get to educate people. You know, I get to educate people while they're having fun, and that just brings me such joy. I just love what I do.
Right. And I just love what you said, you know, like you said, it's you just being you. You're authentic and it stands out. And just even in this few minutes of conversation that we're having, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I could listen to you talk all day because you I mean, you're just you know, you're comfortable, and that's and that is the key. And, you know, we all have seen, you know, people on TEDx, we all see people give, you know, their professional speaking and so forth. There's a lot of people out there can, you know, call themselves professional speakers, but always try to figure out I've been motivated for the few minutes, what did I learn after I left from the motivation? What do I remember?
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important part, is that, anybody can stand up there and give a speech, but what are you really trying to portray to the people? But when you have that authenticity, it makes it much easier to sit back and be comfortable and learn versus feeling like you're struggling to hold on to that moment, once you walk out that door.
Yep. Or you're being talked at, or being talked down to. And, I'm the first one to make fun of myself on stage. I tell ridiculous personal stories that sometimes don't show me in the best light, but I make fun of that, and that's how I illustrate the learnings the lessons I'm teaching. And that's how I want to get people engaged and make them laugh. It's through those stories. It's not through more facts and more studies. People want that, and it's important to have that to support it. But at the end of the day, it's about me sharing pieces of my life that hopefully inspire others to change their lives.
Right, exactly. And I like what you said, when you're not talking to people or talking at them. You're actually allowing people just to hear your story, and everybody can connect somewhere. We don't all go through the same things, but there's that one thing that may spark that individual to say, you know what, that's me. And then it makes it more inviting and enjoying to listen to it. So, so let's dive into Kathy. Okay, Kathy, you have done so much, and this is amazing and impressive. So I want to talk about, obviously you're an award-winning author, and I love authors because I'm an author too. And I want to know more about this book that the books that you've written and the things that you have done as an author.
Yeah, I never set out to be an author. When I told people I was going to be a speaker, several people said, "Oh, well, what's your book about?" And I said, "No, I'm sorry. I said I want to be a speaker." And they said, "Well, you have to have a book." And I went, "Oh, crap, I have to have a book." And I turned to my then husband and I went, "I guess I have to have a book." And he goes, "You want to write a book?" And I said, "No, but I think I need one." So it's like, crap, I guess I'm going to be an author. So, and it's like tattoos, right? Once you write one, you're just like, I gotta write another one. So I wrote my first book, probably 12 or 13 years ago, called The Alternative Medicine Cabinet. And it was just this collection of everything I knew about alternative health and wellness. It was articles I had written for publications. It was, reports that I had to write for my schooling. And I just put it all together in this book. And one of my clients joked it was the perfect bathroom book, because no matter where you opened, there was this nugget of truth that you could see. And it was little short chapters. And then that one kicked off. We actually turned that into a TV series.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it only ran for a season, which was a huge disappointment. But we did all the filming, and that was amazing. And then I just kept writing. And so my next couple books are all about stress and stress management, which is a big topic for me. And then I have a book on communication, which is one of the things that I speak about as well. And I realized the wisdom of you have to have a book, because when I'm done speaking, everybody says, where can we get more of you? Right. And they want to walk away with that book. They want to walk away with that extra knowledge or the extra handouts or whatever it is. So now I realize I need a book for every program that I teach. And so the book that I'm working on right now is on ego state optimization, which is one of the main talks that I give right now. So I'm in the throes, and you know what that process is like. I'm in the throes of book number 9.
Wow.
So, I actually turned out I love doing it. And I write the way I speak. I actually dictate my books.
Okay.
So it's as if I'm just talking to you. It's very down-to-earth style. Everyone seems to love them. So.
Yeah. And I like that too, what you just said, that, you're dictating, you're talking the way you speak. And a lot of times we get criticized, as authors. It's like, well, you're not supposed to, that doesn't make sense. Or why are you writing it that way? Well, because this is who I am, how I talk, but a lot of people don't want to hear that, like that's not professional, but that's the beauty also about being a self-published author. You don't have to deal with that kind of stringent, but obviously with you writing number 9 book, I'm sure you've gone beyond the self-publishing. Now, do you still self-publish, or do you actually have a publishing company work with you?
Yes. Yeah, so I've gone both ways. So 2 of my books that I had originally self-published, I really wanted them to be published. And so I sat at a silent retreat at Lake Shrine, which is a self-realization fellowship down in Los Angeles. And I was on this silent retreat, and the exercise that I was reading in this book was, you have 2 minutes to write down the next 20 things that you want to accomplish. I was like, holy crap. So I sat and I just stream of consciousness, just put stuff on paper. And one of the first things I wrote down was, get my books traditionally published. And I thought, wow, I didn't even know I wanted that, but it just sort of poured out of me in the middle of this thing. And so I started reaching out to publishers, doing all that research, which, is so hard to do.
Yes.
And I actually found a publisher that wanted to redo those 2 books that I had published, because I had given myself a name enough, and I had sold enough copies that they were impressed enough with me that they published them. So 2 of my books are traditionally published. And the new books that I write, they tend to be smaller. They're only like 60 or 70 pages.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because they go along with my program, and no publisher really wants to touch that. It's more I've got it printed on KDP. I order the copies. I use them as handouts. Sometimes I give them away.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be a big moneymaker for a publisher.
Right.
So, I coach so many people who want to write a book. And one of the big conversations is, do you self-publish or do you find a traditional publisher? And that's, it's a big decision to make.
Yeah, it is. It is. Because, when you self-publish, we all know that you're doing all the work predominantly, and, I heard you just say you use KDP, that's the new, that's what everybody goes to now. And, Amazon came in and took over everything, but they've made everything has become easier in that perspective, but you still have to know your research. You have to do your research. You have to know what you're doing. I think the layout of putting the book together is always where people get stuck. And then, of course, once they get it done, they're like, well, what am I supposed to do now besides tell everybody I have a book? The marketing. And that's the next phase. But that's the thing that you just said that's important is that, when you're self-publishing, you're not going to always make a lot of money, but you can always utilize it in different ways. And, you're giving them away at your speaking engagements and so forth. Everything, as you said, is tied into your business. And that's really the great purpose of being a self-published author. So, I agree with you.
And I can make it mine. And, I had a colleague of mine, and anytime she'd go to somebody else's conference, she'd bring her own books, which I thought was ballsy and really kind of fun. And so she'd sit them there in her chair. People would walk by and go, "Where did you get those?" And they would. She didn't inevitably sell those 5 or 10 books. And I was looking through them, and she had some that were self-published and some that were traditionally published. And this was before I'd written a book. And I said, "Oh, so you started out self-published and then you did good enough, you got a traditional publisher?" She goes, "No, absolutely. I went completely the other way." She said after dealing with the hassle of being traditionally published, she said they were 18 to 24 months out to publication. They don't give you an advance anymore. And if they do, it's small. And advance means you have to pay it back. Yep. She said they wanted to change the cover. They wanted to change my photo. They didn't want my title. She said it wasn't my book anymore. And I waited 2 years to get something that wasn't mine. And I was like, screw that. So that's why I started with the self-publishing. And then the publishers that I have, it's Lotus Press, and they're amazing. They were kind enough to go, "Your book's great as it is. We're not changing a thing." And they just republished it for me, which was very unheard of, very rare. I've been told this by so many people. But they've been great and very supportive. And, if you have a story to tell, writing a book's a great way to get it out there.
Absolutely. And then we all know, it's another way to leave a legacy. But like I tell people, you don't have to be dead to leave that legacy. Do it now. Just have that opportunity to share your information. And because it's a way of sharing your voice, and it's a way of being heard. And, and we understand that, and it's just getting people to realize that when it's your story, nobody else can tell it better than you.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free, and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm, Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
And that's the key.
Absolutely. And even if it's a story that everyone's heard before, if it's, well, I'm not any different than anybody else, you absolutely are. You have a different voice. You have a different perception of your experiences. We are all such unique individuals, and you never know what story or what advice or what smile is going to make someone's life completely different. And I think we forget the impact that we have.
Yeah, I think it's hard because we live in a society that tells you have to be A, B, C, and D. You have to conform a certain way. And even though we see more and more people who are, out there doing their thing and, really showing up in their own way, there are still many, many people who hold back because they don't feel like they have that freedom, or they're worried about being criticized. Well, everybody's going to have something to say.
Yeah.
This
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh man, and social media has made that so much worse. I mean, I have
Yes.
seen our stress increase 100-fold because of these. You get Gordo 37B5 who thinks he can say anything he wants on your blog or on the notes for something you posted, or you wouldn't do that if you were standing face to face with someone. And the anonymity of the internet has made people so brazen that they're rude. And, we forget just the niceties of please and thank you and not calling names and not slandering people. And, I'm a member of a club where I'm actually running for the board of directors right now. And, oh my goodness, I mean, I have seen things where I'm like, what, are we 13? Why are we name calling and spitting each other? And it's horrible. It's so disturbing to me. I thought we'd come further than that. Apparently not, but I'm working on it.
It's going to be a long way to go. Yeah. And then we wonder why our kids act the way they act, right? Because we're like, well, look at you people. Okay. What are you doing? Right. Yeah. So it's a catch-22 thing over here. So now I wanted to hear more and really want to learn about the mind and body of medicine and human behavior. You are actually a doctor. You have a PhD, and please, I protect my apology for not calling you Dr. Kathy Gruver because you have earned that title. So,
the only person I may call me doctor is my ex-husband.
Okay. That's right. Put some respect on that, right?
Yeah. I've earned it. Yeah, no, you don't have to call me doctor. Thank you, though. So I got my PhD in natural health, and when it came time to write my dissertation, which talk about not being natural writing, you couldn't use contractions, and you had to put everything in third person and pass. Oh my God, it was driving me crazy. I was trying to figure out what do I want to focus on for my dissertation, and my advisor said, well, what classes zinged you the most? And I said, wow, it was really the stress reduction in the mind-body medicine. And she said, okay, let's do that. And so I ended up doing meta-analysis of different mind-body medicine techniques and how they worked and did they work. And I studied 5 of them. I studied breath work, affirmations, visualization, mindfulness, and meditation to see truly what the effect of that stuff could be. And I had always been interested in Carolyn Mace and Louise Hay. Louise Hay was one of the first books I read. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She had what they call the Little Blue Book, which is this correspondence of physical ailments and what it is emotionally, spiritually tied to. So if, you twist your ankle, do you have fear of moving forward, or are you afraid to take the next step? If you're having knee problems, it's the flexibility and the moving forward kind of stuff. And so she had all these correspondences, which I found fascinating. And I noticed that, because you look at it and you go, that's kind of
right.
I pinpointed that it was accurate every single time in my own life. And because I was a massage therapist and people came to me with these physical issues, I would, with the right clients, of course, ask them, well, does this happen, or is this a situation? And 9 times out of 10, they say, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I'm going through. Do you have the weight of the world on your shoulders? Who's the pain in your neck? Who's the pain in your butt?
Right.
I can't shoulder this. I'm shouldering the burden. I can't get a grip. You're eating. This is eating at me. I mean, these are the phrases that we use, and they correspond to that mind-body medicine.
Wow.
And so all of that work, from way back, I started studying massage really accidentally in college as a theater major. I never set out to be a healer. I seriously thought I was just going to be an actress. Not just be an actress, but, I didn't know my life would go this way. So all of that stuff just informs everything I do. And now even with the communication programs and the ego state programs, and I have a resistance to change program that I do, everything has just sort of snowballed from day one. That one little drop of knowledge has filled an entire glass of things, and I'm an obsessed learner. I'm a lifetime learner. There was a pharmaceutical commercial on TV, as there is, the other night, and we had muted it, but I looked at the kind of what they were doing, and I said, oh, I wonder if they have tardive dyskinesia. And my boyfriend goes, what? And I said, oh, it's this thing. And I told him what it was. And as the commercial ended, it said, are you suffering from tardive dyskinesia? And he goes, is that what you just said? And I said, yeah. And he goes, how do you know all this stuff? And I said, do you not understand that I read medical books for fun? And he goes, I guess I didn't understand you read that many. I love learning about this stuff. And the more I learn, the more I can help people, whether they're in my office or in my audience or your listeners, just get such a thrill out of helping people figure things out.
Right. Well, and that's just amazing, though, how the mind works, because we connect everything with our thoughts, right? And so when what you're learning and what you're sharing with everybody is exactly what I just said, how we literally can say all day long that we're hurting. We don't even know why we're hurting sometimes, but we connected with whatever it is that's going on at that moment. And it literally can take people their whole day trying to figure it out, and they're miserable or whatever the case may be, and maybe it could go on for years.
Yeah. Well, and it takes awareness of self. And I don't think we look at ourselves enough. It's like when I rent a car and I travel a lot, you walk around with the pen and the paper and you circle every ding and you notice every dent because you're not going to pay for that.
Right.
But we don't know what's happening in our own bodies. So we treat our rental car with more respect than we do ourselves.
Wow.
So that when your doctor or your practitioner says, how long has that hurt? And you go, I don't know.
Yeah.
Has that lump always been there? I don't know. We have no idea how we actually feel. And I think we're doing a disservice to ourselves because I and any practitioner can't help you if you don't know what's happening in your own body. Even if we take 2 minutes a day while we're brushing our teeth, while we're in the shower, while we're going to the bathroom, to just sort of look at ourselves and go, how am I feeling physically, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, financially? Is everything in balance? Because health isn't just the absence of disease. Just because you don't have a diagnostic code doesn't mean you're healthy.
That's right.
And I think we fail to look at so many of these aspects of ourselves.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. We spend more time on everything else because it's like, I think there's always that negativity towards people who do feel like that they want to spend more time on who they are and getting to know themselves and realizing that there's other things in life to do beyond making money, because the world is focused on success. And then not realizing that there's so many other pieces that come with that. Success is not just about how much is going in your pockets, but and as women, we constantly put everything on the back burner. Oh, well, I'll get to that. Maybe I'll take a little bit of time off here or there. I think we all have been guilty of it. And that's how we learn and realize that, if you don't put yourself first, all these other aspects are going to drop off.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? If you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. Choose from hundreds of social casino style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Yep. Sure. I mean, because if you're not feeling well, and I hate this analogy, it drives me crazy because everybody uses it, but it's the airplane thing. It puts your own oxygen mask on before you help somebody else. And that's such an overused, concept, but it's absolutely true. That's why we overuse it, because it's completely true, is you have to take care of yourself. You have to feed yourself before you can give to anybody else. And, we get into this cycle of either caregiver or pleaser. That's the role we've given ourselves. That's our overarching ego state where we have to give to other people. And then everything else falls away. And that puts everything out of balance. And then we're unhappy. And then we get sick. And, it's a horrible cycle. We have to at least, maybe if we're not number one, let's put ourselves number one. If we can't, at least in the top three. At least put ourselves in the top three.
Right. Right. Yeah. I guess that's better than nothing. Right. So, yeah. But,
absolutely.
But at least the key is that you're thinking about yourself. And I think that's a part of the thing that you said we don't do. We're always putting other things, in place because we feel like we have to. And then like when we realize that things are just not working right, we like, so you're not feeling well, things are dropping to the wayside, then it's because we're not focusing on us first. And like I said, we are all guilty of that because we go through that process, I'm sure more than once, throughout the year, but I like the fact that you are trying to get people to overcome it on a regular basis. So I want to hear about your appearances on Dr. Phil's show.
Yeah, that was crazy. So it was so unexpected. I mean, when I was really pushing to do media, I couldn't get that level. And then completely out of the blue, right in the middle of COVID, by the way, I got contacted by Dr. Phil, and they said, hey, we're doing a show about this massage therapist guy. And Dr. Phil knows a lot, but he doesn't know massage. He'd like an expert to come on. And I do expert witness work for court cases. Okay. And a lot of them involve sexual misconduct. Because, people get a little handsy on the table, or the therapist is crazy, or, whatever.
Right.
And so this massage therapist he was jumping states back and forth, Tennessee and some Alabama, I don't remember where he was. He was assaulting women on the massage table. And charges had been brought, but the police didn't arrest him, but his license was taken. But it was a big, long story. But they contacted me to come on the show to be the massage expert and actually kind of grill this guy.
Wow.
So, unfortunately, because it was during COVID, I wasn't up with Dr. Phil. That would have been so cool. We waved to each other from across the stage.
Right.
No live audience. Everybody was sort of zoomed in. But I got to sit there on the set with Dr. Phil and his wife and this crazy man who seriously has some illness, seriously has some mental issues. And I kind of got to grill him. And I didn't take any guff from this guy. I mean, I nailed him. Because you don't do that.
Right.
Like you don't mess with that stuff.
Right.
So I called him on his ethics and some of the stuff he did, and do you think that's appropriate, and how do you think she perceived that, and that, blah blah blah. It was so much fun. It was a little nerve wracking, but it was really fun. It was really fun. I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't tell anybody what I was doing. Because I couldn't say anything until the show was airing.
Right.
So my boyfriend knew because he was there with me the whole time, but no one else knew. So for like a month, I kept teasing it. I'm like, hey, I'm on the set. Hey, I'm doing this thing. Hey, and they finally let me announce it when they were sure it was going to air. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. And it was one of those things where, again, this whole confluence of my past came to that moment. They loved that I'd been doing massage for so long. They loved that I was an expert witness. They loved that I had media training, was a former actress, and had done TED Talks and TEDx Talks. So everything I had done, completely unplanned, came together in this perfect soup. And I ended up on Dr. Phil. Yeah.
And like you said, but the time frame that you wanted to do it, it wasn't happening. And then boom, it just like that. Yeah, that's just how life works. But like you said, all the years of experience and everything that you've accomplished, it led you to that point. Now, are you going to have any other opportunities to maybe go back to Dr. Phil's show, or either go on any other shows?
I was really hoping that what I was told, and I can only believe the producer, was that Dr. Phil himself wrote a thank you note to the producers and said, thank you for finding her. And apparently he just doesn't do that. So I went, woohoo, there's my in. I want to be a regular. And the producer loved the idea. And the next time I went to contact her, she was no longer with the show. Oh. And I went,
Oh no! Well, hopefully you can get somebody to pick back up on it, because that's definitely something that's needed consistently. You hear more and more cases. Geez. We've heard in the last several years beyond COVID, before
absolutely.
COVID. Yeah, you got a bunch of weirdos
and
out
the stress. Oh, absolutely. But even aside from that, the stress reduction piece. I was trying to pitch them. Why don't I come on once every 2 weeks for a 15-minute segment on stress reduction and mindfulness and that sort of thing. So that's what I was hoping to do. And she was totally into it, and then left the show. They give it and they take it away. But who knows? I put stuff out into the universe, and it's not my timing, right? It's whenever the universe, whatever it is, decides it's time. So I put out years ago, I wanted to do that kind of media, and then it plopped down to me a year and a half ago. I just throw those things out there, and it's not my timing to know. I just have to express what I want very clearly and be prepared to do it when the doorbell rings.
Absolutely. And you were definitely prepared. Like I said, it's not something that you do every day, but everything that you had learned, it just all comes up, and you're still able to bring that expertise to the table. So that's what's most important, I think. And that's what a lot of people need to understand, that when you're in this arena, of business, it's all the things, all the personal things that you've accomplished, whether it's in personally or whether it's in your career field, no matter what that is, it all can come to a head, and you never know what experiences that you're going to have that can come to the table, so absolutely agree with you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's about knowing what you want, what do you really want,
mm-hmm.
and then asking for it, and then when it comes up, you better be ready.
Right, because, like you say, when you put it out there and then all of a sudden it shows up, if you're not ready, you're going to be kicking yourself, the whole time, because we all have our timing, but we all know God has his, and he knows when you're prepared, and he knows when you can handle something. So you've definitely proven that, and then some. So let's talk a little bit about the podcast show. Do you still co-host the Fire and Earth podcast?
I sure do. It's a blast. My friend Jason and I, he's another speaker. We met through the National Speakers Association, and we immediately realized we were somehow siblings, just had great rapport and just hit it off so well. And so we brainstormed for a couple of weeks on how can we work together. And finally I said, I wanted to do a podcast, but just haven't done it on my own. He goes, I've wanted to do a podcast, but haven't done it on my own. And we went, we should do a podcast. And so it was born. And everyone says, how'd you come up with the title? It's just as pedantic as ever. I'm a Capricorn and he's a fire sign, so we came up with Fire and Earth Podcast.
Hey, there you go.
And we have a blast. It's a half-hour show. It's just it's very conversational. We say naughty words and we laugh, and we have sometimes guests and sometimes it's just us. And we cover business topics and personal topics. We've had astrologers on. We've had hypnotherapists on. We've had top business people on, business coaches, $1 million build your business kind of people. And it's so much fun. We love doing it.
Wow. Yeah, I love podcasting because, like I said, it gives an opportunity to talk about other things, but also the reach. You get to reach people all over the world that you would not be able to physically see, even though, of course, you have had the opportunity to be on 4 continents. Okay.
Yeah.
So, which is, you don't get to meet too many people who've had that opportunity. So I'm sure that has been phenomenal, for you
it's been amazing.
In the past. Yeah.
Yep. In fact, I know, it's just as a bizarre side note, I know we're recording this, so this is airing later, but on this day of us recording this, 7 years ago, I was standing in front of the pyramids in Egypt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. One of the best days of my life, to wake up in my hotel and go, holy crap, that's a pyramid. Wow.
Yeah. I'm sure you used other words, but yeah. It's yeah.
Holy crap. Yeah, that's the encompass of it,
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. So, and then, of course, when things started to slow down, it just, got really weird and people couldn't go anywhere and do anything. So talk a little bit about that time. How did you spend 2020? How did you spend that downtime? Did business continue to move even faster for you because people had to sit still?
No, everything stopped. And I'm very type A. I'm a triple Capricorn. I'm an only child. I'm very competitive. I'm very driven, very anal retentive, and everything stopped. It was like a 80-mile-an-hour car just hitting a wall. So one day I was booked solid, and the next day I had nothing to do. And because at that point my practice was still mainly massage, I couldn't do it.
Oh.
I was seeing maybe 5 clients a week that were willing to kind of sneak in. I mean, I felt like we were behind enemy lines. They're sneaking into my office and bringing their own blanket. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was really crazy. I had a sign on the door that said I'm closed in case someone tried to report me. It was so sneaky. But it's for them, it's physical therapy. They needed that for their pain, for their bodies. They're like, look, I'm risking this. I'm coming in if you will. I went, great. And so I sat in that stillness, though. And I have to say, and I know a lot of people suffered a lot in 2020. 2020 was one of the best years of my life. My boyfriend moved in the day everything shut down for those couple weeks. For those couple weeks that this was going to be going on, and he's never left. So next month it'll be 2 years. 2 years that we'll be living together. And I think, I kept wishing, I hope this doesn't end too soon. I hope this doesn't end too soon. I like him being here. So it's probably my fault this has dragged on so long. So I apologize, everybody. He moved in and we traveled like crazy. We'd take day trips and we took weekends away and because I wasn't working. So I finally had time. And I found myself laying in the hammock on a Tuesday or, fooling around on a Thursday morning or, things that my normal life I didn't have the luxury to do. And I sat in that stillness and said, what do I really want? And how can I make that happen? And I finished my coaching certification. I got certified with the International Coaching Federation, finished my training. I wrote another book. And I realized I don't want to work so hard. I don't want to see 28 clients a week. I can't do it. it's not good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of uncapricorned myself a little bit during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave myself permission to sit in silence and stillness and say, who are you and what do you want? And it was a pivotal year of change for me. And it brought my boyfriend and I closer together. And we spent our 2-year anniversary in Turkey and Greece. We exchanged rings. We became domestic partners. I think us having that year to be just together and explore and experience each other was amazing. And not everyone had that with their relationship. I totally understand. I could just imagine if my ex and I were still together for that year. He'd be calling me more than doctor, I'll tell you that. That would not be the word that came out of his mouth.
But see, and I love that. I love that story you just told. I mean, and that's the thing that, a lot of people whine and complain about 2020, but like I told people, and hearing your story is proof that it literally brought you to your knees and it made you sit still. It made you think about what was most important for you in your life. And like you said, having 28 clients a week, that's crazy. And you realize that you don't need to live that way in order to have a good life.
Hey, it is Ryan Seacrest. There's something so thrilling about playing Chumba Casino. Maybe it's the simple reminder that with a little luck, anything is possible. ChumbaCasino.com has hundreds of social casino-style games to choose from with new game releases each week. Play for free anytime, anywhere for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, there were moments I panicked. There were moments I was crying. There were moments I thought, I'm going to be broke. I remember coming home and sobbing in my boyfriend's arms because I thought my career, everything I've built is gone. All the speaking gigs that were supposed to happen are gone. How am I going to get spin-offs if there's nothing to spin off of? And I had moments where it was bad. It was dark. So not to tell everyone it was all sunshine and rainbows. There was moments where I felt like awful and cried and was angry and pitched fits and it was not all beautiful.
Well, right, but that's the experience sometimes we all have to have, and that's the thing. Yeah. That people need to understand you're just as human as anybody else. But a lot of times when you're out there in the public eye so often, people only see that good side. They don't, they don't always hear the horror stories unless you share them. But at the same token, it was an opportunity for you to just bring it down, to just like you said, just to live. And when you're out here all the time, we don't always have that opportunity to live. And, we can all see that obviously 2020 was very good for some and it wasn't good for others. But when you start to look at the statistics and the things that are going on right now, when you got 4 million people out here, they're saying, you know what, I'm not coming to work today. I'm done. Yep. So it shows a perspective, a different lifestyle of what people want. It's proven that you can absolutely work remote from home, where for years people, these companies like, no, you can't do this and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? So, now, even though everybody had that up and down period, because everybody had to go a little bit of crazy through 2020, especially when you literally could not move around for 4 months. You do go stir crazy a little bit. For me, I appreciate it because I traveled a lot on the road. So to be home was just a thrill. And now I literally get to the point where like, I don't care if I have to leave home. I enjoy being home, so being able to have the opportunity to work from home and still be able to make money and do the things you need to do. I really appreciate it much more because it gave me that opportunity to do like you did. You just really get the time to just sit down and think and realize that, okay,
absolutely.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Well, as I say, and when do we take that time? We get in our pattern, we get in our habits, we get in our ruts, and it's till something jostles us off where we go, wait, what am I actually doing? We're running on the treadmill and we don't even realize it until we trip and we fall off the treadmill and go, oh my God, have I been doing that whole time?
Right.
Why am I still doing this? Just because we've always done it that way doesn't mean you have to keep doing it that way. This is why I started the Resistance to Change program, because my goodness, there's so many reasons we resist change, and all of us do. None of us like change. None of us are like, yay, Facebook redid their interface again. We don't like that. You and I talked before we got on the air of how the heck do we put this phone on Do Not Disturb? Every phone, they keep changing stuff.
Exactly.
We hate that. It's the stupidest thing, and we hate that, but we complain about that. Then the big things we want to change, it's scary. It's really scary. And 2020 was a time of a lot of scare, and it gave us a time to look at that and figure out what we wanted.
Exactly. And obviously, like I said, you've done well. You continue to move forward and doing great things. We are definitely, though, getting close to the end here of the show. But before you go, I have a couple more questions. And I definitely want to know, I just lost my train of thought here. So, what I wanted to ask you was, what advice would you give for those who want to be in business for themselves, whether it's being an author, whether it's being that professional speaker? What would you give them, as advice?
Yeah, I think when it comes to wanting anything, I think you really have to know what you want. And if you think you want to be an author, ask yourself why. Do you want to be an author because you think you're going to get rich, because you think it's sexy, because you think it's going to be famous, because your mother wrote a book and you think you have to? Do you want to share your story? Do you want to share your knowledge? I think the whys behind stuff is so important, because that's going to inform the decisions you make. If you want to just write a book and give it to your family for free, that's going to be a very different book than somebody who's writing to be the next New York Times bestseller. So I think understanding our motivation, what we actually want. Do we want to be rich, or do we want to have freedom? Do we want to be self-employed, or do we want autonomy? I think it's important to pin down those values and then break it down. I've had people say, oh my gosh, I could never write a whole book. Well, I didn't sit down to write a whole book. I wrote word by word. It's the whole how do you eat an elephant thing, one spoonful at a time. You don't bite off more than you can chew. You do it in stages. And it's not about the destination. It's about that process. You running that marathon isn't about you crossing the finish line. It's about the 26.4 miles, 26 kilometers that you ran. It's about that process of the steps that you have to take to get there.
That's right. I couldn't agree more with you. That was just perfect. Because that's what people need to hear, and because everybody is so willing to jump in all fours, not even understanding why they're jumping in all fours. And then when they only last a couple weeks or a few months, they're shaking their head trying to figure out, well, what happened? Because they don't take the time to really understand what it is that they want, what is it they need, and how are they going to move, and what have they learned, what are the experiences they're going to provide into that. And you're 100% right on that. Absolutely. Yeah. So my last question is, of course, please tell us if you have anything great coming up you want to share, and then please share your social media with us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, I don't know if I have anything great coming up. I'm back to traveling, so that's really exciting, but I travel for conferences specifically, so it's not like I'm hosting an event that people can come to. But, I'm all over social media. I'm on LinkedIn with Kathy Gruver. Instagram and Facebook is Dr. Kathy Gruver. And then my websites are just kathygruver.com. You can find my books there and all about my speaking. And then kathygruver.coach if you want to do some life or relationship coaching. Kathy with a K, Gruver, G-R-U-V as in Victor, E-R. And that's .com or .coach. And please reach out. I love talking to people.
All right. Well, Kathy, it has been such a pleasure having you on the show tonight. You had just been phenomenal. I really enjoy speaking with you, and just like I said, keep doing what you're doing. We need more people like you, and I'm just impressed and enjoy, and hope to talk to you again in the future.
Oh, I hope so. Thanks so much for having me on, and have a great night, everybody.
All right. Again, thank you for coming on to the show. And of course, before we close, I always like to talk a little bit about what you've learned. Hey, mind, body, medicine, and human behavior, that it just all wrapped into one. Kathy is phenomenal. She provides so much information. The thing that I loved about our conversation tonight was all about just being you. Truly taking your experiences and turning them around and making them into something that you want. So it always makes me ask that simple question to everybody. How does your behavior prepare you for your success? What do you want out of life? Let's talk with each other. Let's talk about those dreams. Let's figure out how you can turn those dreams into goals. You can reach out to me at Kimberly, WSBILC@gmail.com, so we can have that conversation. Then, of course, if you want more of your resource for success, we are accepting monetary donations to support the podcast. You can send them through Cash App, PayPal, Good Pods, Tip Jar, or go directly to the website at www.wsbilc.com. And again, we would like to thank you all for listening to us tonight. We will be back next week with more amazing guests. Be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts. But until then, enjoy the rest of your evening and good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun, Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
People are driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. The hiring process can be slow and overwhelming. Simplify hiring with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform. With over 350 million global monthly visitors according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. That's Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Terms and conditions apply.